Priyanka for accepting the invitation at the last moment again. And thank you, Sonam, as well. And I hope you will enjoy the talk as much as we will be. Sonam, I just want to say something about Sonam. I've known Sonam since he joined. I was in my third year and I was generally hanging around and like as a senior. And Sonam has been one of the quietest and the most thoughtful guy around. Like he doesn't really talk much. I'm sure he does, but he comes across as a very quiet person. But he's very thoughtful and I happened to also visit Sikkim where they work and did a workshop with them. And in years, I've seen their company grow so well and such a beautiful bunch of people who work together. Tenzing, Karma, Ranveer, and the most beautiful part is that Sonam and the whole team manages to get all these young designers, students, go to them and work with them and hold them. So, when I always enjoy looking at the stories that their ecosystem puts and what they're doing is their life is full of singing, dancing, picnics. It's like a family that they live there. So welcome, Sonam, and it's beautiful and would love to know more about you through Priyanka. And over to you guys. You can unmute yourself.
Thanks, Anuj, for the intro. Thanks for having me here, Sajid and Anuj.
Yeah, I think so I'll quickly, we are running late, I think. So to first Sajid and Anuj, thanks for this and this format and the MGD conversations. It's your 40th. From where I'm sitting, it's a big hello from Dehradun. It's a small town in Uttarakhand. And Sonam is, and the whole team of EcoStream, I'm so glad they all they're all in different parts of Sikkim, and they've managed to converge today here. So that's really great, because I know so many people who want to hear from EcoStream and Sonam, but I think this is a big win for all of you to get all these EcoStream silent guys also on the screen. But what I really like about the MGD conversations, where I am operating from, you'll be happy to know that I think it's amazing to hear so many alums come on here and share their trajectory. But I think the format is amazing from personal as well as career perspective as well. And it's great to see that everyone is just living their life and their dreams in full form. I also think it's a great, a lot of our friends are in the academia, and they're always looking and struggling for case studies. Many of them are kind of struggling to find case studies to show and share with people. And I think this format, 40 of them, you have the case studies, and I hope it becomes something. So I think I'm very happy to be interviewing Sonam today, who I realized only when I accepted your, to be a host here, that I know actually only 1/3 of his life, which is for the past 20 years. Imagine, I had no idea about, not much about his, his school days and the NID days. But I got a lot of help from Man, who's sitting there, and Tenzing, who filled me in. And I think I'll pull in them maybe later. Shalini is there. She sent in a beautiful note, which I thought I'll play as an audio, but I'll let her come in. I think, so how should we do? Sonam, do you want to start with the presentation, or do you want to?
We can start with the presentation and yeah, we can have conversations as and when.
So I think we were discussing something, it was really great to go down memory lane, just to give the context to a lot of Sonam's contemporaries, and also super seniors and maybe really juniors. I think it's interesting, this batch. I think Sonam represents a batch of 2000. It's a very interesting batch, and I didn't realize till I started figuring out, okay, what do we have to do? And maybe I'll give the context later, but it's a batch which has gone through a lot, in the sense, I think the first year was earthquake. Within a year's time, they had the riots. The third year were the floods. And what is also interesting is, I think it's also a transitional phase for, if you look into the NID history, We had the change of guards, not just in the ED. This was the first batch which had Dalio Koshi as the ED, but there was also a change of guards in the faculty as well. The current faculty, many of them right now, they were actually in their formative years. If I'm not mistaken, I think Daya's I think yours was the third batch that Daya taught. Tarundeep Gurdar was around, Praveen Nahar was around. So I think in retrospect, and I was just looking at it, it was a very interesting time. It's also, you were very lucky to have, I think Ranjan, Man could check me in and everybody else, that Ranjan was in his new avatar, with the arm with the Mac and this whole digital world. So they got to see Ranjan in a very new light, which my seniors say that it was a very different, aspect or facet of Ranjan. I think my batch was the first batch that Ranjan taught after his medical surgery, and Sonam's batch was the third batch. And in came Ranjan, the 2000 batch came in the Bamboo Boards and Beyond. If everyone remembers, there was Bamboo Boards and Beyond happening. There was Handmade in India happening, at its peak. What else? There was so much happening when this batch was around in those 4 years. And it would be very interesting, that all these events that were happening in these 4 years of Sonam's batch, I think they left a very indelible mark on all of us. And I'm wondering that this batch that time was just in the first year and second year. And it would be very insightful to know how they were handling, the riots and the Bamboo Boards and all of that was happening. And I think I see a lot of it in what EcoStream is doing right now. So over to you, Sonam. Let us in, man, on your journey.
Okay, thanks, Tolu, for setting the entire context also for a certain phase of my life. I think where majority of my the learnings as well as the whatever I'm doing right now, the genesis of it actually is in NID. So that transition, it's affected me academically as well as emotionally, spiritually, intellectually. I think it's the whole that transitional phase has forced me to think about many things, because of which I am doing what I'm doing. So I'll just share my presentation. So basically, I've divided the entire, my entire life in 6 phases. One second. I think there's some problem with the share. Can you see the screen?
We can see the screen.
Okay. So basically, my entire life is now, I think because of MGD, I think I've managed to kind of put it in 6 segments. And everything's all about, for me, it's all about learnings, and every phase is all about, learning and growing from that. So this presentation is called Learnings. So I was born in Gangtok in 1980. And it's a very funny thing that this is the 40th episode and I'm 40 right now. So it's quite a major coincidence here. So the first learning is actually started with this motto called Learn to Serve. Is the motto of my school.
One second, Sonam. We cannot see your screen, yeah? We cannot see the presentation.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's what I think. There's some. Now can you see?
Yes.
Okay, so I was born in Gangtok. And like I said, that I'm now 40, and this 40 is the episode. And one part of my learning started in my school, Tashinangi Academy, where the motto was Learn to Serve. So I spent from 1985 to 2000, I spent in TNA my entire life. So a lot of the way I was molded was also because of my parents and the family and the community, as well as the teachers, most importantly, who kind of supported me in everything that I did. Even when I flunked in my 11th, my family and my teachers were all very supportive about the thing. They really kind of help me in terms of, build a confidence and look at failure as a very important teacher also. So growing up in TNA in school, music played a very important role in my career. in my learning days in TNA. Bands like Status Quo, In Excess, Led Zepp, Skid Row, R.D. Burman, Kishore Kumar, they played a very important role, I think, in terms of the way I looked at the world, because the lyrics and the music and the expression that they had actually influenced me quite a lot in terms of the way I think and looked at the world. In my last final year in my school, which is in 99, we had to organize something called the Day Scholars Day, which is a major event. And I was given that charge to organize the entire event, and that particular thing, event, I think, helped me in terms of understanding my own potential, and then kind of helped me in terms of also sometime later on get into NID. So after this class 12 and all that, Lendup came, Karmal Lendup, he came. He's also an alumni of the same school. In fact, Tenzing, Palzo, Lendup, Dawa, all of us most of the people who have got into TNA, into NID are all from the same school. We are alumni of the same school. So Lendup came and then he said, hey, I'm doing this design. And we didn't know what. We thought design or something else. He used to start showing car sketches and, cool renderings and all. We're like, oh man, there's something cool. And the most important thing that he said is that, you just need to pass in school. You just need 40 marks and all. You just don't need deadly scores and all. You just have to believe in yourself. And it's like, okay, let's do it. So then 14 of us, we got, brainwashed into Lendup's, thing of, get into NID and all. So this is basically, for the 14 of us in Calcutta, we had gone there to give the entrance test. So amongst us 14, Tenzing, me and Dawa got through. The rest of us, we all actually went out and had a good time also in Calcutta, in the whole bits of the final year exam. So from there, it all started, the learning by doing part, we started in NID. So from 2000 to 2005.
If I may come in right now, Sonam, I think the other thing about your batch, which is very interesting, is that it's got a very high representation of Sikkim and Northeast and West Bengal. So there are three of you. There's Dawa, Tenzing, and
Ali,
you, and there's Ali. There's Longbeer from Assam. I think this is one of the batches, and I could be wrong. Check me, but
Margaret and a lot of people actually.
A very high representation from the Indian Himalayan region. I think, particularly the east. I think.
Yeah, and we also a huge batch. We were like when you were mentioning about the natural disasters and stuff like that. I think we joined with disasters. Like when Koshi joined us with our batch, right? So I mean, he joined in to do what he was asked to do, like Shalini was mentioning some time back, and he did the job very well. But I think he messed out around with the Athens, the education system too much that it affected quite a lot of us. So it started with that, big batch, the student teacher ratio.
First batch with two foundation sections as well, I think.
A and B, A and B, and it was crazy, because I remember how intense it was, in terms of the, for the faculties to actually, get the thing done, the courses and all done, which actually, because of the NID ecosystem, it really helped us in terms of, figuring out where the learning is going to come from. So it was not in the classrooms. So it started in a very, very, very hazy, confused kind of a thing for me, because for me, it was a major cultural change also, right? So I've never gone out of Sikkim, and, for the first time, for me, it was a major experience of being in a nationalized environment where people are coming from different states and different kinds of cultural backgrounds and economic backgrounds. And it was something very overwhelming for me, and to figure out, where is it I'm going to fit in. It didn't take that much of time, but it kind of somewhere that kind of question always arises, like how am I going to fit in? Because I was not really that creative, that skilled guy, right? I was the guy who walked into the what do you call the selection thing and all that, blabbering about Discovery of India, because that was one book that I knew at the back of my hand, and I was very much influenced by that book. So I didn't know Nehru, NID, Discovery India, and all that, right? So I think I got selected because of that, the entire thing. So learning in NID was coming not from the classrooms. It was coming from discussions and activities and different kinds of things happening, because my batch was also going through a lot of things like, social networking systems were being developed that time. Idea of globalization was starting there and then, high five, Orkut, mobile phones, all of these transitions were happening right in front of our eyes. And this is the reason why display and control went on to become user interface design and information design and something else, So it was happy. We were that batch which was going through all this, major transitions. So the way it really helped out is that the ecosystem that was there in NID, which is the seniors and the basketball courts and the late nights and the cooking sessions and everything, those things all helped in terms of, figuring out things. Because when faculties won't have any answers, they say, go and figure it out. So when you figure it out, you just go and learning comes from everywhere, right? So for me, I think all the learnings came out from different kinds of activities and events that was happening, and it was multidimensional, culturally as well as conceptually. So for me, Duke played a very important role, to some of us in our batch, because for us, in the sense, like for me at least, this was my first time I was into a traveler's mode, like an independent mode. I didn't have to tell my parents where I'm going, etc. All that, independently going out and trying to do things. I started discovering a lot of things about myself. So all this was happening within the premises of NID. Food played a very important role. Tenzing, me, Kunga, Palzo, Meren, Joffrey, Longri, all of us loved cooking. Most of the guys from the Northeast, just go on cooking stuff and pork and beef and this and that, whatever, and, we're going to, this Vijay Charasta to get pork was like a very interesting thing. So we'll talk about that in some other time. But then Labella played a very important role. It taught me so much humility in terms of, how some very quality stuff can be affordable, accessible, and there's so much of love, in terms of the way the food was being prepared for different kind of students coming from different generations. And that kind of overwhelmed me quite a bit in terms of making me very humble as a person, as a designer.
This Labella photograph reminded me, so when Anuj, host jab karna tha, I was like, oh man, Longbeer was the last host, and it'll be a difficult one to, it's a long act to follow after Longbeer. And it reminded me of Labella days, when I remember when, everybody would know ki mess mein khana aaj kya ban raha hai. It's not the good day today, so you think that you would go to Labella. And somewhere you'll hear, Long is also going. And all of us are like, we've got to reach Labella or the Tibetan kitchen before Long, because after Long, you're not going to get anything. And this whole host thing reminded me of that, and this Labella thing, about that memory of coming after Longbeer as a host here, and also, those old memories conjured up of landing at Labella after Longbeer.
It's crazy. I mean, see, I think Labella for everybody played important roles in. I mean, a lot of us looked at it from different perspectives, but the most common thing was that the food was really good. So we had to, rush in. We had to, and we'll all ask the auto guys. Did this guy, did the Bong guys go? Did this entire Kundu and Ronnie and all these guys, did they go? If they have gone, then we forget it. We are not going there. Or if we have gone, then the rest won't come there, So, and that time, no mobile phone, no? So you can't tell Anna, keep food and everything, right? So anyway, so this was really something great, experience for me. Then there were a lot of my batchmates here. And I think, it made my entire stay in NID worthwhile, So like people like Abhishek would be like, I think he and some push on and all these guys actually started this whole Gabru Jawan thing, and that whole gym culture and everything started somewhere there, and then you could just hear Abhishek singing Mayari like in 10 different versions and alabs and everything, and we've seen it not 1 year, it's the entire 4-5 years in NID, like Abhishek has been just consistent at that. So right from also my internship at that Titan and going there with Neha, Aparna, Smriti, and Maitri, I think that was also another experience, in Bangalore, for me to understand the corporate structure, the scale of it. And then Neil and Michael were very kind to kind of help us as very stupid young designers to explore a lot. So thank you, Neil, for that. I think this is the part where, for my next phase of my life and this NID phase, this was a major transition,
So no, 2 seconds. 6 seconds. Tenzing, Anuj, I think if you want, Tenzing can, you can unmute him. He can kind of be part here to question or something, because I think this is the phase where as I told you, I took a lot of help from Tenzing, and maybe he can, kind of curate for a while from here. Tenzing? Yeah, okay.
No, I was just, I think yesterday, I think Toya and me were just discussing about what were the few things that really shaped Sonam's perspective of looking at his process. And we kind of felt that his TCP, technical complex project, is what was told then, is one of the I think, projects in product design. I think this was one of the very one project that really shaped him in terms of looking at how he still addresses briefs, So I think this was one life-turning moment for Sonam in terms of his practices. So I think it might be interesting to look at that.
Yeah, thanks, Tenzing. I think, you're absolutely right about that, because I think this was that point where, as a batch, we were going through quite a lot of, we're not sure about ourselves anymore, because courses, everything was going a little bit, jaldi khatam karo, Koshi has figured out this whole placement, so you have to go, industries waiting for you and all that thing, and which he was very successful in doing that. I think he bought in the whole idea of placements. He connected NID with industry. And there's a huge contribution that I think he has towards that. But at the same time, what was happening is the learning was getting affected. It wasn't being complete. We were not able to really solve the problem. We are being trained as problem solvers, but we were not solving the problem. We were just putting it under the carpet and making a very beautiful aspect of it. This was a project that NID had collaborated with National Innovation Foundation, and there was a project called Grassroots Innovation and Design, and I was selected for one of the products that I had to redesign, which was the pesticide sprayer. So they basically had this, one innovator had figured out this very innovative way of, spraying pesticides, okay? And they wanted us to make it market ready. So, and TCP was mostly that, right? It was a aspect where we had to technically solve different aspects of a product. But when I was looking at the entire product, and I just realized that, it is doing its job, but is that the real problem? And then that's when I went to Amreli. This is Devendra Bhai's village in Amreli. Devendra Bhai is one of the workshop person. I was talking lens about him, about pesticide, and he's saying that, Bhai, isse to door hi raho aap. Ye pesticide, ye dawai se door raho, hamare gaon mein bahut problem ho raha hai. So I went there and kind of like checked exactly how they are spraying the pesticides and everything. And then I realized that Monsanto and, so many things were happening there, right? There was a big problem in the farming system. So then in that whole process, I got typhoid and jaundice, and I came back to Ahmedabad. And in that whole recovery process and all that, one day I was just sitting at the main gate and I was just having my tea after getting recovery. And then Priyanka and Koel came and they were saying, hey, how are you doing and everything. I said, I'm fine. This is what has happened and all that. And then Priyanka said, hey, why don't you go to my state in Uttarakhand and talk to my father and his colleagues. And they're doing this thing called organic farming. Yeah, and I had just read about these things recently also. I read this One-Stop Farming by Fukuoka, who I really love. I mean, that guy. So then I went to Uttarakhand. I went to Uttarakhand, and this was like, we are not supposed to go out station and all, but then I just sneaked in to Uttarakhand and then just trying to understand exactly what the system was. And then Uttarakhand had a much better model of farming. And that's when I realized you don't need the product. So the whole positioning of how we were doing design exercises with industry projects like with National Innovation Foundation, the premises was not right. So when I came back, I got into a lot of problem with the academics and everything. You say, why don't you just finish and get out of NID? So I said that, okay, I don't know about finishing, but I'm getting out of NID. So this is the part when where I just left NID, and that is one thing in my entire life. I think that is one thing I regret, of taking that very stupid decision out of anger and frustration to just leave NID and go, because that is not the answer. That's the reason why I, till now, everybody comes and works with me, I make sure that they graduate. Because Suresh, this is also because Suresh came to Gangtok in between in 2010. And he said something very, thing to me that, Sonam, when you graduate, not only you graduate, but we as teachers also graduate. Our job is also done. And I felt it was very unfair, that we were not doing that. And these are faculties we were looking up to, right? Who played a very important role in my life. So I really regret that. So anyway, so this transition happened, then I went to Delhi. Yeah. And in Delhi, started the whole learning by unlearning process, because it was like, okay, I have still not graduated, but Mansingh has brought me into Devi Design and said that he saw something in me, I don't know what. And he said that, hey, so I've come over to Delhi and let's start and let's do this, that. And we started tinkering a lot. And I ended up, and I don't know, came across one of the most kindest employer, Anupam Podar. I remember he got this one nice big long crystal and I was like, just toying around with it, and it broke into 2 pieces. And he acted as if it was nothing, and it was very expensive piece. And I learned a lot from him in terms of, appreciating art and stuff like that, because in design school, in product design especially, you don't dig deep into art, right? So he took me to all craft museums and craft centers and, all the fancy places with the art and craft and, looking at the painting, and I'm pretending that I'm understanding something, but I'm not. But over a period of time, I kind of started appreciating not art, but the artists in terms of, the kind of thought process that they, put into developing art and craft. So great learning, and thanks to Man for that. Another thing that happened is we decided, Palzo, me, Girish, and Sujay, we decided to just start a collaborative space and have a fancy office, and we took up a place in Saket in between 2006 to 2008. And it was a basement, and the photograph that you see is like, another disaster, so we had just a basement, so it was flooded during the monsoons. So these are guys just, throwing water out of the washroom. So we kind of like started thinking around a lot, and then we started getting a lot of projects also. We were working on it. But then somewhere we were not very happy, we constantly were like, trying to question ourselves, at this phase, is this what you really want to do? Is this where you really want to be? Is this what you really love doing? So the answer was no. So that's when we kind of like decided to say that we need to start thinking of something. By this time, I was in conversation with Ranjan throughout. Right from my foundation, right till this whole learning unlearning phase, I was constantly in conversation with Ranjan on different platforms, on Yahoo and on Yahoo Chat, as well as later on now, recently we moved into Facebook Messenger and all that. And every time he used to keep, probing me, saying, what is stopping you from starting something at Siket? What is stopping you from going back and trying out something? And now I realize, what was stopping me. It wasn't really about me, I think it was the fact that I didn't have the confidence to do this thing on my own. And if Palzo and Tenzing and Girish and Ranveer Karma had not come along the journey and had not supported and said that, okay, we are also coming with you, it would have been impossible, whatever I'm doing right now. It would have been impossible. Whatever ecosystem has achieved so over the past 11 years, it could not have been done, which is why I think I was very reluctant in answering Ranjan about this fact that, why can't I do? Because I think I myself was not very confident about myself doing it alone. So major influences around this time of my life was Ranjan, for sure. The last Volot catalog. If you guys haven't seen it, look at it. Is the most meaningful document in today's time right now. The India report and Mount Kanchenjunga. I think these are the things which actually kind of somewhere help me in terms of saying that, okay, now the next step for me to take is to figure out something with all these guys, with Palzo, Tenzing, Girish, everybody, because we were constantly talking about this right from NID, that we should go and do something back in Sikkim, or something very interesting and all that. So the next phase basically started with basic learning by collaboration.
Sonam, if you don't mind, you may, I just want to bring in Mansingh, if Mansingh can be unmuted, because I think this is the critical juncture where you decided, after graduation, you were hanging around in Delhi for a couple of years. I mean, I think a year or two. And I was talking to Mansingh just yesterday, and I mean, I wasn't privy to this phase of yours, and I think Mansingh summed it up pretty well. So let's just bring him in right now, because he's seen this journey of yours, this phase of Delhi, and just about when you, reached back home, your home state. Mansingh, hey, come in.
Hi. Yes, I think I think it was, I don't think it was a lot of fun. I think I was quite harsh with Sonam at that point. So, but I think there was a lot that was happening with Sonam, both. Like it was a transition. Actually, Delhi was just a transition between NID and getting back to Gangtok, and the ideas that would, that would bear fruit had they used to all live together, and they would be doing a lot of things together, and it was quite hectic, and it was. I think challenging emotionally, as well as it was. I think it was a challenging time for Sonam at that point, and so this, because it was always this question of going back, and that was something that was hanging over his head, the whole thing about going back. And I think I was quite keen that he go back and finish, and that wasn't what he was so keen on doing. And I think so Girish was a bundle of energy,
Yes.
So I think they would always be trying out these various things. So it was, I think it was a time for Sonam to figure things out. And I think what he's saying is very true. The transition happened as a group of people with various kinds of ideas, and it was, I don't think anybody had a fixed idea of what would happen. But so the Delhi phase was it was very transitory. So I think there was the NID phase, and then there was Sikkim, and the Delhi phase was this thing. And I think Sonam's sister also wasn't well at that point, and Sonam had to run around quite a bit to work on that as well.
Yes.
Yeah. I think I was quite a pain for Sonam at that point.
Yesterday what you said actually was that finally what you saw, you've been following his work also over the years, ever since his leave from Delhi to Sikkim, and you said that that's where actually he kind of blossomed into what he is right now. going back to Sikkim. So Sonam, back to you. So I always reflect my journey with yours, and I was very lucky that when I came back to Uttarakhand, I had seniors. I had Richa Ghansyal, who had paved the way. I had Neeta Pawar Rana, who had worked with an NGO, done a spectacular work. And this is where I come in, that in Uttarakhand, from NID, there have been, a stream of NIDians who've come and done a lot of design impact, social impact. So it was very easy for me because I had my friend Usha Prajapati also to give me tips, because it was a complete transition from a mainstream kind of work to, work in the hills, where a lot is to do with social development and government. There is no manual. There is no manual telling you what to do. There is no precedence. So I think in your case, I see that you completely were in a new place all by yourself, as compared to, say, me in Uttarakhand. I had Richa and Nitya and lots of work happening. So tell us about going back to Sikkim. How it is. Our relatives are always like, "Kuch to gadbad kiya hai," not doing so well in the city. Why have they come back? So how was it when you decided to go back and you were working there?
So first of all, I like I said before, I didn't come back myself. I wouldn't have had the guts to do that, although my sister was not well and I had to keep traveling between, but I was still freelancing then. Ecostream had not happened.
Right.
So to kind of like, have everybody come together and do something, that thought had not come. It was only after, one day, Sujay, me and Palzo, we were drinking, to like 3-4 o'clock in the morning, and we said, "Hey, let's start a studio together." And we just all, we all drunk, okay, and we got onto the plane, and then we landed up in Mumbai, and then got into Tenzing, Ranveer, and all these guys' house, and we thought we'll talk about collaboration. We ended up drinking more. So, yeah. So, but by the time, we got back, I think we had the ball rolling, so at least start thinking and all of that. So coming back was not only my decision, it was everyone's decision that, okay, now in phase wise, everyone is going to come back and we're going to start something together. So the challenges were there, like, you were saying that in your case, Richa and all these guys have already built a foundation. In our case, we had to start from scratch, but we always had wedding cards. So, that was a great start, right? So you're a designer, and you can at the most design very good wedding cards.
True.
And I designed very good wedding cards, and there were about, one wedding is actually not less than 2,500 invitees. So that's 2,500 visiting cards going out. So it basically worked like the word of mouth wala thing, networking system and all. So until now, Palzo never uses visiting card. Tenzing doesn't use visiting card. Ranveer, none of us actually have visiting cards. Is only when I cross Rangpur, I have to print your visiting cards. That also on the way only, So we never felt that, that the fact that Sikkim already had that strong community networking system. So it kind of, one project just went on to another. It just built up like that, which is why, for us, it wasn't really about a decision that, we want to go back to Sikkim and do something for the state. But we felt that we could do something in Sikkim, and create an impact in terms of design, which we have for the past 11 years. So this phase is basically that, the learning by collaboration part, where we kind of like from 2008, with when we moved back, 2009, we registered in Ecostream, and then we so far have worked about almost 20 different sectors in Sikkim. Out of Ranjan had identified 230 sectors, when we were in foundation, and out of that, we have in 11 years we have worked in like only 20 sectors, but still it's quite a heavy portfolio that ways. So we kind of like then envisioned something called the creative mountain economy for Ecostream, because we felt that, the creative mountain economy wasn't really only a context for Sikkim, but it was for the 10 Indian Himalayan states and now the 2 Indian Union territories, because the context was the same, for all these things. Maybe culturally, socially, it's different here and there. Population wise, is a little different and a little bit of geography we could change, but the challenges are the same, right? This is the same challenges we feel in Sikkim is the same that you feel in Uttarakhand, but just the scale of it is different, and the cultural and social aspects is different, but not too different.
Right.
So we kind of like started building this idea of developing a creative mountain economy. So the creative mountain economy is basically, it's a model that we have designed to create the various challenges that is there, which is posed between human development and growth, and in the context of the fragile ecosystem. Because for us, more than COVID, earthquakes, landslides, floods, all these things are a much bigger challenge than COVID, and this has been going on for years. So this has basically become like the context for why we thought that, that creative industries would be the best for Sikkim, and Ecostream is a very good model for that. Over the past 11 years, we have almost about 103, 105 designers come and work with us. That also not only from NID, from various different institutes in India and also from abroad. So the context of this entire thing, creative modern economy, like I said, was 80% of the states in the Indian Himalayan region, we share international borders with the world's largest economy, China, and then Southeast Asia. 76% of India's hill districts fall within the Indian Himalayan regions that are mostly mountainous. 25% of the Earth's surface is covered by mountains. Yeah, and plays a very important role in conserving the ecosystem services. 65% is the average forest cover of the entire geographical area of the states. 172 out of 573 scheduled tribes of India are in the Indian Himalayan region who depend on agriculture. This is a very important, demographic thing and all, because, it's the scheduled tribes who actually have association with nature and nature practices, and they worship nature and all of that. Yeah, because then Adivasi basically means that, right? Forest dwellers. So 60 to 80% of the fresh water amongst other essential ecosystems services is actually supported by the mountains. And so then that's the context in terms of the geographical context. This is basically what the creative industries look like today, right now. So 4.5 billion USD is the amount of music companies invest annually in discovering, nurturing, and promoting artists. Since the time Indian Idol started in India, and all these musical platforms started, if you check the top 10, 50% of them are from the mountainous regions. Why? Because we have all the time in the world to sing and dance. Yeah, and the mountain and this and that, we have all the beautiful conditions to get a vocal cords and entertainment things right? Because here in the mountains, we don't have television back then, so we had to entertain ourselves. So we are very good when it comes down to the entertainment industry. So 50% of global revenues is accounted from digital revenues, which basically means if you look at the work from home scenario today, all the mountains actually need is good bandwidth. Yeah, you got clean air, clean water, peaceful environment, what all you need to establish creative industries. 29.5 million jobs are created because of the creative industry, all globally right now. 1 in 100 people in the world works in the creative industry. 100 million USD recently, the OTP platform, Netflix created as a COVID fund, relief fund. So which actually means that during this entire time of the COVID, this last 9 months, the creative industry is what has thrived. 2,250 billion USD is generated by 11 creative sectors, which is equal to the GDP of 10 Asian countries. Now this data is coming from Organizational Economic Cooperation and Development, which is there online. You can just access those reports. Now I'll just give you some case studies. So in Ecostream, we started then now following form follows concern process. So from Bauhaus, we started with this whole form follows function, and now we've gone into form follows concern. Because we looked at a portfolio in 2015 and we assessed it, and we figured out most of the things that we are doing is coming out of concern, whether it's climate change or unemployment or earthquakes or anything. Heritage is all coming out of concern. So one concern that we looked at is the livelihood sector. And so we integrated that with bamboo and the tea sector. So besides these beautiful mountains that we see in the IHR, what we see also is mountains of waste that is curated from tourism sector. And this is across the Indian Himalayan region. So to address this issue, what we did is that we started integrating bamboo as a packaging material with the tea industry and the tourism sector. So we started designing the souvenirs, which are actually designed out of zero waste packaging product systems and products.
But Sonam, if I can come in right now, is like when you're talking about these livelihood projects and a lot of projects that I see EcoStream does, are many of them like project pitches, or are they something that you've been working on as, finding collaboration with the government systems? Because at least in the Indian Himalayan region or most of the states, and I think many of our friends who are working in Nagaland, I can see Margaret here, and soon I think Longbi now back in the SAM, but particularly in Uttarakhand, that you have very few private investors. We know that there will be no angel investors in the kind of projects we want to do. Definitely no venture capitalists. So these projects that you're talking about, are they, self-initiated or?
So it's all self-initiated. So we registered tea as a brand, as a product brand, and we started collaborating. We were buying tea from the local tea gardens, and then we were packaging it and selling it. But the problem happened is the new manager director took over and she started auctioning everything out. So we didn't have the tea with us to actually start doing it. But then now we have started collaborating. We are in the talks of collaborating with coffee growers, with other people who might need this kind of packaging, bamboo packaging. So, but the idea here is to, take one particular sector and integrate it with another sector, in a very meaningful kind of a collaboration. So the idea here is not only to be very tea-centric, but the idea is to kind of somewhere give a solution to all the waste-based issue that, we are generating. And then there's no souvenir value also, right? It's very later, I'll show in a presentation, it's very later that Tenzing started his own initiative because of this particular, lacuna that was there, in terms of souvenirs. So many tourists coming, but there's no souvenirs,
Right. Cool. So we are, I think it's 8:08. Just letting you know.
Okay. How much time do I have?
I don't know. Anuj, how much time do we have?
I think we can go on a little later because we started very late. So please go ahead.
All right.
15 at least. Yeah. Go ahead.
I've got about 8 minutes.
If it went on this late in the night, this one's also the month Vyasas. But that was a different timing on Saturday.
My connectivity lost.
Okay, I'll just continue then. So the second case study that we were looking at is mobility, which is basically the last mile connectivity issue, which is there across again the modern region. Not every household or not every economic activity has access to road. So the mobility is a big problem in the mountainous regions. So there are things like above the road and below the road. So these are our daily problems, right? Carrying gas cylinders, carrying rations, etc. Recently, during the lockdown, when there was no vehicular movement, there was a big problem. And then this is where we're now collaborating with the GMC, the Gangtok Municipality Corporation, to actually figure out this product that we have developed, we installed in the marketplaces. So we kind of started studying the entire mobility system in Sikkim, and from steep stairs, slippery stairs, kachas roads, pakka roads, etc. Everything, different kinds of activities that were happening, different kind of user groups, single people, family people, nucleus, all of different kinds of thing, So we came up with a product called Tok Tok. So this is basically one of the products of the entire system. This is basically catering to the freight-based issues of, taking up load up to about 40 kilos. So this product actually, you can pull it up and down the staircase. You can basically the width of the entire product is also something which can actually go into very narrow steps and stuff like that. And you can also use this as a you could carry it on your back also, like a backpack. So the other project that we worked with is healthcare. Again, Yatul, you're muted.
If I may come in on this, just to let everybody know here that I remember when Sonam published this product, there is a very loose network among all the Himalayan states. We have a WhatsApp group which is going, and there is an organization called the IMI, Integrated Mountain Initiative, where they're trying to, kind of pool all the mountain states so that you can have a singular voice at the policy level. A lot of people had inquiry for this product. So you might want to, they were inquiring because, bamboo is available in Uttarakhand and Himachal. And I just remember someone asked production, because even our friends in Nagaland, so it's quite amazing for us, we look at EcoStream with all these designs coming and there are people inquiring to do production. And I think I just want to let you know, because I never, conveyed this to you, that there has been a lot of inquiry that if this is going into production and they want to know.
I'll come riding on it now. Motorized. Okay, so yeah, so the other aspect that we were looking at, basically why I'm showing you very selective projects is because these are primary out of all the 20 sectors. These are the major trust areas and all that, right? For us. So healthcare is another issue. So right before this entire COVID thing and all happened, this entire thing of preventive healthcare systems is completely not there in the mountainous regions. A lot of people don't have access to healthcare. It's not because there is no healthcare systems there, but just to go from point A to point B, it's in that whole process, the person who's slightly ill will eventually get very ill. So the whole point of this entire product was to project was to actually start looking at solutions, what we can do. And, this is basically the general context, like people are carrying patients and on their back, right up to the road, and you are waiting, you are in the waiting room, but there's no, people have tuberculosis, people have many other things, but then everybody doesn't care, just like this whole COVID scenario, right now. So you actually have a system which actually, one, is not working, but also somewhere is making things worse for the patients. No records, no this, no that, no follow-ups. So we kind of looked at the entire system and kind of studied it right from your healthcare service providers, their problems, the people in different kinds of places where there's connectivity, no connectivity, literacy levels, etc., everything. So we kind of came up with a product called Menla. So Menla is basically a product basic for the service providers as well as for the beneficiaries, the patients, the citizens. And it actually works in both offline and online systems. So, and also it is actually completely, literacy friendly, in the sense most of the people in the remote areas and all, they are either illiterate or semi-literate. So it actually has something like a Siri, like a voice assistant in different languages and all, to kind of explain or help people out in terms of, accessing this healthcare data and all of that. And mind you, this is just preventive healthcare. We're not even talking about treatment, etc., but this is about preventive healthcare. Because we felt that, as of now, as a design studio, we only have resources to actually address these issues from a preventive healthcare point of view. So this is just a prototype we were developed over the past 2 years. This is a work in progress right now. Then after that is the last case study is basically this is a very important project for us. Is basically the textbook redesign project. And the government came to us and said that, can you come help us in terms of, designing the textbook projects? And when they came and talked to us, they were actually asking for illustrators and people who can draw art. They were not really looking at designing textbooks. They said, okay, we have this chapter, can you make an illustration about mountain, a river, and this and that, and help us make a textbook? So when we went and explained them the whole different aspects of a textbook design process, from layouts, from printing, from visual languages, etc., the whole draft, research, draft, and final, a draft form and all that. So they were completely not ready for it. So we worked with almost about 180 content writers over the past 2.5 years almost about 20 illustrators, 4 graphic designers, 2 design researchers, 2 project leads, and kind of like came up with like different design solutions for different chapters, because we were not looking at all the chapters with the same kind of, template. So the main features of this project is basically the learning outcomes is based on the NCERT guidelines, training guidelines, 2017 guidelines. And this project, actually, the textbooks has the integration of environmental studies in language and maths. What I mean to say with this is that English and maths has been explained using the EVS, environmental studies, concept framework, which is a narrative framework, which is a context framework. Yeah, and the integration. So this is also the first project which actually has the integration of the UN Sustainable Development Goals in the education system. So UNESCO MGIP had come up with something called the Education for Sustainable Development, based on the UNCA 17 Sustainable Development Goals. So now that has been integrated into the education textbooks. The content of the textbooks is embedded in the social context of the children who actually are accessing this, so that relatability is there. So that the concepts that you're explaining is coming right from their living environments. So we actually had to go and like do a lot of the study, the referencing, etc. All of those things had to be done very thoroughly before the illustrators came on board and started visualizing things. So this is basically the class 1 to 3, 4. So we kind of piloted it in 40 schools before we implemented it in 77 and 86, 7 and 68 schools in Sikkim primary schools. Now class 4 and 5 this year, the pilot was done, but in a very, we're not happy with the results because it was done remotely. So the analysis is actually not come up very right now. So we're trying to revisit and rethink about that. So I'll just give you an example of the maths thing, right? How the EVS thing works out. So what they did is the content narrator took a story of an actual vegetable seller. Her name is Debu, popularly known as Debu, but she's a vegetable seller in a place called Pakyong in East Sikkim. She's a widow and has kids, and basically she's figuring things out for herself. So in this thing, in the whole aspect of right from bookkeeping, accounting, what profit and losses, etc. How do you segregate and bundle things and all that? The whole aspect of commerce and everything is all explained to a narrative, to Debu's daily activities. Also, the vegetables and everything that was introduced in this entire thing were all locally available ones. And they've used the local terms also in terms of, to figure out the relatability and familiarity of the items. Like things like Rayosag, Iskos, Ningro. These are all things that are found in the local markets. Yeah. So things like human-wildlife conflict was also kind of explained. So you are using human-wildlife conflict to explain profit and loss. And these are real scenarios out there, right? You always have these monkeys and all, destroying crops, etc. All of that. Now, how they've used this particular narrative, environmental narrative, to explain concepts of maths. So this is the EVS method, and then how Debu is also a member of the self-help group, and how self-help groups work. How do you kind of denote from notes and coins, etc. Counting, something. All of these things were actually integrated in the chapters. Now, after that EcoStream thing happened, in 2015, 14-15, we just realized that you're not.
So now if we kind of like pause a little bit for everybody, so this particular project of yours is it getting implemented right now in all the schools?
Yeah. 1, 2, and 3 started last year. It was implemented last year. This year, your class 4 and 5 was piloted in 40 schools. So we are supposed to get the feedback from the teachers and students from this 450 schools, make the changes, and then release it in the 767 and 68 schools. Because the thing is, this actually, the whole pedagogy aspect has a lot of behavioral change mechanisms in it. So we have to assess those things. because this is a huge transition that is happening, because you're going from a very text heavy mode to a very visual narrative mode, and you're going through, like, in some of the schools, the children, they found the visual so self-explanatory, they finished half the syllabus here. And
But I was reflecting that your presentations to the government to get these approved, I wonder the making of the book would have been very interesting to get the, your government guys, I wonder how they responded to these books, heavily illustrated but so contextual.
No, I just realized one thing here, that government guys and all like Gajni hai. They got like about 15 minutes of memory, So the point is that you cannot come with a template and go to them and say that acha tumne samajh liya, acha next project tumne samajh liya to hoga. You have to constantly remind them. That's the only way you can work with the government, because otherwise you'll be frustrated like hell. You don't do it, or and for us, Tenzing, Palzo, all of us, we chose to say that, damn, you're going to go to Sikkim and work with the government. So so we made the commitment, so we have to do that, right?
Okay, so now the slides ahead is what you're going to tell us about your entire gang, right? Your about everybody. Like, I like the format of EcoStream. It's quite interesting, where you have EcoStream and under it, you guys are all doing your individual gig. It's super. And the reason why I'm saying that, because in Uttarakhand, Richa Ghansyal, for everyone, my senior here, who kind of leveled the ground for us in Uttarakhand, where many of our designers could come and, have fun, is that we always wonder, whether we've not managed to get everybody on board. We have a lot of designers in Dehradun from not just NID, from all institutes. And therefore, I think it's very interesting to kind of, for me, we always look up to EcoStream, the way you guys have worked out your dynamics. And I think for everyone out here also, I think it's maybe for the youngsters, how you guys have worked it out. And I think the slide ahead now, Sonam, you're going to be telling about everybody in under the EcoStream.
Yeah. So what we realized after this phase is that 2-3 things. One, we were very poor as a design studio, so working as consultancy with the government. So we need to get into enterprise mode. One was that. Second is that after working for so many years, we figured that we are very different individuals. We have collective aspirations, which is EcoStream, but we have individual aspirations also. So Tenzing likes, apple, I like probably pineapple, and Karma Palzo likes watermelon, and someone else something else. But we all love fruits, So the idea was to actually say that, okay, let's have all the fruits in one thing and all that. Yeah, and kind of explore within that entire dimensions. And then for us, to have EcoStream as a backup thing and all that, and as a mothership, and then have this entire exploration kind of smaller ships to go out and explore. That was actually a much feasible thing, and it was very important time for us in our career in Sikkim to do that. Because we need to, these are all ideas that we had proposed to the government. They made a report of it and they sat on it. We took the report and made an enterprise out of it. So
right.
Now these things basically it came out of one training that we did for bamboo artisans. So unko sara naya product bana diya, market testing kar liya, export market kya hai, sara cheez karke de diya. Fir uske baad after a few months and all, the artisans call me up and say, abhi karenge kya? So then I called up the department and said that आप करेंगे क्या? तो ऐसे करेंगे क्या मतलब हमको इन्हें training दिया, सब ज्ञान दिया, सब tools दिया, अब वो करके करेंगे. Then I came back and said, actually, this is what the department is saying. What do you want to do? Saying, sir, why don't we work together? Let's do something. And that's how LA started. It all started from a fallout of a project which wasn't implemented. So the implementation stage is LA. So we started with this whole, product development, etc. Started training people, started developing different kinds of products and all that. And then we kind of, I'm showing these 2 slides, not because we are so proud that we sent our products to Ambiente and to Frankfurt and to, other places and all that, Meso and all of that. These strategies actually work quite well for us, because then what happened is that the artisans started looking at their products with some value. They said, "Arey, yaar Firangi log bhi bahut they're buying and, they're appreciating our work and all. So the stature of these guys in the villages and all, like, oh, iska to maal to sab abroad ja raha hai. So some level of confidence started building up amongst the guys. Because frankly speaking, the real market is local. The real, if you really, for me, if you look at the logistic aspect of it, there's a huge market locally. And it all comes from, say, even if I cater to all the new hotels that are coming in Sikkim, etc., and all, these artisans' incomes are sorted. The idea of, getting on board to an export thing, there's that, etc., was to build that confidence amongst the, craft communities and the new ones, the fresh ones, first generation artisans. So after La and all, then likewise, simultaneously, Karma Sonam also started a textile brand called Kuzu, where her entire focus was on mountain-based textiles and stuff like that. And she started working with communities in North Sikkim and East Sikkim, and then started developing capacities there. And it so happened that, in this entire process, we ended up, collaborating with Priyanka also, who was also they were much more ahead in terms of the whole handloom experience and the whole natural fibers, product development in Uttarakhand with the Uttarakhand Bamboo Fiber Board. So they were developing the nettle fiber and the fabric. And we said that why not, we buy the fabric from them and create a federal system of working. So we got the fabric from, Chitko Design Studio and Uttarakhand Bamboo Fiber Board. And then we participated in the Lakme Fashion Week with the entire sustainable fashion week thing that was organized. But the problem with this entire thing was that it wasn't really that, it was not successful. The problem is it was too successful. And the problem was that, then people started talking about scale, itna meter, itna yardage, itna wo, and then for us in the mountains regions, we had just begun, right? We are just prototyping these ideas and testing it out and see how markets react to it. So that was the Kuzu story.
Yeah, 2 seconds. I have Anjali again asking. So I'm just going to call out from the chat going on. So Anjali is asking, are all these brands a part of the EcoStream Collaborative? So maybe you want to again elaborate on what's happening right now on your screen?
So these are registered as different entities. But the thing is that we, in the whole EcoStream Kajo system, in terms of, supporting it from design support, ideation, there's that, etc. It all happens here in this office. We have one common office where we all function from. And it from a legal aspect and all, it's actually different entities, but it's following the same mission. Because then, if you really look at the different kinds of opportunities that are there in Sikkim, it cannot be just taken care by EcoStream. We have to take individual roles, and that's what everyone has done. Everyone has taken individual responsibilities. Like Tenzing started Tapestry. Before that, he has something called Brew. Ranveer is starting something called Odidem, which he doesn't like the name anymore. He's thinking of some other name. And Palzo started something called Kala Productions and all that. He's making his own films, regional films. So the idea here is that everybody's figured out their own aspiration, their potential, and that's saying that, okay, as an individual, this is what I love doing. This is what I want to do. As a collective, we have EcoStream. We have EcoStream, and we are like a family. We're less of a company, more of a family, and we call ourselves the biggest self-help group. Rather than calling ourselves a company, it's almost like we're a SHG only, in that sense. So yeah, so then the last part is basically then Tenzing started something called Tapestry, but before that he had something called Brew, where Brew started as like a as a very experimental space, and it explored a space, and then they were catering quite a lot to children, having workshops and stuff like that. Anuj came for one of the workshops for Brew with the button masala thing and all that. And because then in Gangtok, we were not having any contemporary spaces for cultural exchange, and especially for children, so that Brew played a very important role for almost about 4 to 5 years to do that. And eventually went on to getting to a product-based kind of thing where Tenzing is right now working with all the chili farmers and the nettle tea farmers and all that. He's collaborating at different levels. But at the same time, he's not just making a product in that sense. If you go to the Tapestry blog, he's basically figure out the whole narrative aspect of it, how the stories are now embedded in the products. So that was what was missing, right? In terms of in Sikkim, in terms of like the souvenir based thing. People were just like, okay, Sikkim jao, wahan pe kya milega? Carpet leke aao, dragon hai, dragon leke aao wahan se. Yeah, so, it became like, there was nothing, right? There was no content, there was no story, so Tenzing filled up that gap right now. So, I mean, another collaboration that we did, again, Pan-Himalayan thing was the Crafts of Uttarakhand book. Now, this is something I think, for me, I was already a part of the Handmade in India, the project, and where I was doing the index. Ranjan had put me into this very, very, very labor-intensive work of doing the indexing thing, which I understood the meaning of it much later when we were doing this book. So this project actually became a very important thing as a collaboration between Chitko Design Studio and EcoStream, because Chitko was anyways, it was a mammoth thing, right? So there was Nitya, there was Jisha, there was many other people, Kunga, so many other people involved in this project. But the beginning aspect of it, the framework aspect of it, Priyanka and we sat down and brainstormed, like, over very late night calls, etc., trying to figure out, how we're going to execute this project. So
now,
yeah.
Sorry, I think it's 8:32, and I was wondering how many slides of this is there, or
last.
All right. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
sorry.
So these are the book has come out beautifully. You can check it out on Amazon. Yeah, and it's actually one of the, best documented books for the craft sector right now, because it looks at not only products, like the way we made a catalog of the entire Handmade in India. This one actually has an illustrated thing of the whole process and tools and everything, So the documentation level has been very concise and very cohesive. So the last phase of my life is basically learning from a virus. So now this is for everyone, right? So we are learning something from the virus. And what is the most important learning that is there is that the fact that, for almost 20 years, we've been drilled into problem solving. So when a problem like this comes for me, it's always an opportunity. So the learning from a virus is that we're now starting something called Work from the Himalayas. So since everyone is working from home and will be probably working from home, so we are targeting small studios, small startups, entrepreneurs, freelancers who want to basically make the Himalayas the home for the next 1 or 2 years. So it's a hospitality brand that we are designing, which is a co-working, co-living, and a co-creation space with a 1 month, 6 month, and a 1 year package. Because one of the biggest industry that has been affected by the COVID is the tourism sector. And we cannot afford to, as citizens, we cannot afford to have a lot of transactions in terms of people coming in, going out. Because the moment one tourist will get COVID, the entire thing will be sealed down again and locked down again. It doesn't make sense. So the idea here is to actually have people here, less numbers, but retain them for a much longer time. Usually the tourism sector is 100 days out of 365 days. That's the season. That's 2 seasons in a year. That's 100 days. What this model actually looks at is 365 days of tourism, but something which is affordable for the visitors, as well as something which can sustain the tourism industry and the 22,400 beds that needs to be occupied in Sikkim right now. So the co-working, co-creation, co-living space is something we are offering to the Work from the Himalayas brand, and we're launching this thing on the 6th of November. So this is basically now the ongoing learning phase of my life. I don't know how far it will work. This is the city of Gangtok. This was our studio, very packed, no social distancing, no masks. discussing like, man, this was the other studio that we ran to. This is the mock-up hotel that we took on lease, and we created a co-working space there. So the entire one flat where the kitchen and everything was, we converted that into a co-working space and all of that, and where most of our designers are currently staying. Yeah, this is basically general life in EcoStream. And yeah, thank you very much.
That's fantastic. I think brilliant work, Sonam. It's good to see how you got everybody, and everybody's there working together like a family, and such a great variety of work. When it's impossible to do it alone, and it's also impossible to do it with many people, because it's not possible to get too many designers together. But it's great that how you guys have put everything together and working so beautifully from the beautiful state. And I hope this thing will queue up a lot, man. If you start taking a reservation and put numbers, otherwise everybody would say that I want to come there, I want to come there. You will be running out of spaces, so you better look for larger spaces. Man is already booked his flight. Man, but fantastic, man. Your humility is brilliant, and for me, the takeaway is how you bring everybody together, and how you are together, and that's the larger learning for me as a designer, because I'll work alone, so I know how lovely it would be to work with so many people and build such a great environment. Where people can do things together, because it's not in design is not hidden in one person. It's part hidden in every one of us, and any one piece missing is not good enough. So bringing all those pieces together is the key. And we're all creative and talented, but that's where the beauty comes in. So fantastic work, and thank you, Tolia, for doing such a great job, man. You're a good narrator and you do great job. And it'll be fantastic to know what you're doing in Uttarakhand also at some point of time. It'll be really nice to know what's happened there, because you and Richa and all of you have done a great job there. Even Usha has done a lot of work there. So
Yeah,
fantastic.
as I told you, I think this conversation for me, I think a lot of the people sitting in the mainstream towns, for a lot of us here sitting, we look at these conversations as great case studies, as I told you. From where I am, there's a great design impact, a lot of NIDians from super senior to juniors. And I know so many people who want to collate these design impacts, which is not happening, which hasn't happened. So yeah. So thanks, Anuj. It was great down the memory lane and meeting everybody here. Yeah, you let me know what.
I'm going to highlight people one by one so that people can say hello. I mean, of course, just to say hello once again, there is Mr. Karmad. Hello.
Hi.
You want to add something to the discussion?
Not really. Sonam said everything about it, but it was great to see you guys. That's it. you guys have always been in every day there is some moment when we think about NID and you guys. It's like every day. So now seeing you guys is fun. Although it's a strange space, but it's really nice to see you guys. And I think I feel young now.
Srini, hi Srini.
Srini.
You can say something, Srini, if you want
You have
to.
unmute yourself.
Hello everyone. It's so nice to see everyone here. I can see so many faces. Oh my God, yeah. Nothing so much to say. I was really enjoying this presentation of Sonam. I mean, a few of the things which I have worked with Sonam. Also, I supposed to work with Priyanka for some of the things, and it couldn't happen. Yeah, anyway, but these works which Sonam have shared was something like a really brilliant. Also, like I guess EcoStream changed me as a designer so much. After NID, even I work with EcoStream and Sonam, Tenzing, with everyone like many years, and still now, right now, currently I'm working with Sonam as well, with some government works and everything, which is always fun, especially when it comes to educational works. I guess EcoStream teach me a lot. Thinking as a designer, not just about the beauty of a product, but also about a lot of functionality. And it was really amazing to work with Sonam and all the EcoStream members. Yeah, that's all. It's amazing.
I would like to say something. One of the things that I've always looked at EcoStream for, and I've always been very glad about, is that, in the beginning, when we just come out of NID, we are idealistic and we want to see the world and be a part of it in the way that we have been discussing with our mentors and with our peers. But eventually, slowly, we just get frustrated and we give up. And I keep looking at EcoStream and I feel really proud that you guys continue to stay, hold on to that idealism a little bit and find a good balance between working this out in a commercial manner, at the same time making an impact for yourselves and for the community. And that's extremely inspiring. So I'm very happy to listen to all of you and look at your journeys, and all my best wishes to you guys.
Thanks, Subbu.
Then we have Valerie here.
Hey, Valerie.
Hi, Sonam. Thank you, Anuj. Sonam, it's been great knowing so much more about you beyond what I already knew. And consider this a warning that I'm not done with you yet. So I'll be one of your first few guests whenever we are allowed to do international travel. And just commendable what you're doing with EcoStream, and good luck to you and everybody involved. Oh, and Anna Potter is missing from your team, so I'm signing up.
Yes, absolutely. Time to make some lovely ceramics for tea.
Yes, let's do that. Hold the thought.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
There is Malhotra, Miss Malhotra.
Hello, I
Look
had
the
heard
best.
so much about EcoStream, and I always wanted to know what they do because I heard about them from so many different people. So I'm really happy that you guys did this for MGD, and it was wonderful seeing all that work. I wish I could see, we had more time to see even more.
Thank you. Thank you.
There is Mr. Tenzing.
Can't hear you.
Can't
hear you.
Unmute.
Unmute.
I have unmuted. Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think we go a long way, 25 years, I think, more than that, hanging around with each other, talking to each other, everything. So it's great, and it's great seeing all of you guys on here. I mean, I'm seeing so many after NID, I think, so it's great to see them, and love you guys.
And then we have one more here. We have this man in white. Look at him. Hello, Chong.
Hi guys, nothing to add. Like it's lovely being here, and yeah, it's just amazing to just be in the office because, like I guess Sonam already mentioned, like more than being a studio, it is more of a family-like situation. So it's never a dull situation. So it's amazing to just go to office and you're always there. So yeah, and that's where all the discussions and all the ideas and everything, ideation and discussions happen. So yeah, so that's about it, and it's great seeing everyone. So yeah, thank you.
Tom, how did you manage to be in black and white?
No, actually, forget it. Yeah. Anyways, it's okay.
Hi, Shalini.
Hi. I was very happy when I read today that Priyanka would be hosting you, Sonam, because I think for me, it's not just EcoStream, but I think both of you are archetypes of the barefoot designer, which NID so for very long has romanticized. And you know, in the long run of things, I see design has been always, it has always been there to serve the capitalistic system. And it is NID which brought in the idea of the barefoot designer. And I mean, of course, you, EcoStream, but there are so many. I mean, there is Peter Marbanyang, there's Margaret Zinnu, there's Satish. I mean, there are so many of you who are doing incredible work in the field. And I think it is worth more than what you are getting. Because what you are principally looking at is not just creating a new brand or selling a new product. I think, as you said, Sonam, in your own terms, the fragile ecosystem. And the fragile ecosystem is a very messy reality, because what you do is, at a day-to-day basis, you are dealing with problems which are having relentless repercussions. And then you have, to top it all, the bureaucracy, the very corrupt bureaucracy, which is constantly breathing down your neck. And I think to use design to solve social problems is amazingly commendable. And I congratulate all of you, Tenzing, Palsor, Anvir, Priyanka, Karma, Margaret, Satish, and many other whom I don't know or whom I am not referring right now. And congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Shailini.
Great, guys. Thank you very much.